Hi everyone, welcome to Torah on Demand. I'm Rabbi Yael Rydberg. In the book of Leviticus, the priest served as the chief dermatologist, epidemiologist, immunologist, and overall healer of the people. He would diagnose afflictions and prescribe the necessary rituals when individuals encountered the natural life transitions of sex, childbirth, illness, or death, rendering a person ritually impure. This week's portion of Tazria begins a biblical focus on contagion, isolation, and quarantine. Every person was responsible for their own health, scrutinizing bodily changes, and when necessary, go to the priest to assess the situation. Such occurrences were an expected part of communal life. Tzara'at was a highly contagious, scaly affection that could occur on skin, clothing, and even in the stones of a house. The Mitzorah, the person with Tzara'at, was in a temporary state of ritual impurity, requiring separation from the community until the illness abated and an offering made to rejoin the community. Tzara'at could happen to anyone and was not considered terminal. The illness was understood as a spiritual ailment and not a medical or moral one. The text is silent on the why of the fungus, but its inclusion in the Torah normalizes it. Only later in the book of Numbers, when Miriam is afflicted with the same tzara'at after criticizing Moses, did the rabbis assign the cause to be negative speech, lashon hara, which in and of itself is also a kind of contagion that can infiltrate the very bedrock of community. Nonetheless, a person afflicted with tzara'at had to proclaim him or herself infected. The person had to rend their clothes, uncover their head, cover their mouth, and call out, tameh, tameh, which means impure, impure. The person must dwell apart from the community until the disease disappeared. The priest would then determine when they could return. Embedded in these verses is a communal imperative to care for others. According to the Talmud, one calls out the infected status not only to warn others of their contagion, but also to elicit compassion and prayers on one's behalf. The text reflects an important dialectic of the I and the we of community. How we take care of one impacts the other. Tradition values the return of individuals to community, but only after the prescribed rituals and expectations are completed, and there is no further danger of infection. As we continue to reintegrate our lives after the last 2 years of contagion, isolation, and quarantine, may our efforts be akin to the Talmudic story that the Messiah sits among the lepers, untying and replacing their bandages one by one. May we care for one another and the larger community as a whole. Shabbat Shalom. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.